Hi all, welcome back. In this video, we will check about what is an identifier in Java and while declaring an identifier, what are the rules we need to follow. First of all, identifier is nothing but a class name or a method name or a variable name or a label name in the Java. Okay, let's say here I have declared one class with name what? Identifier 1. So here identifier 1 is nothing but the class name. So class name also we will call it as identifier in Java. Then inside this class I have one method, public static void main. Main is the method name. So method name is an identifier and inside that we have parameter. Okay, parameter which type it is? String array. Here string is nothing but class name, predefined class name. So class name is nothing but an identifier. So class name is an identifier, method name also is an identifier, and variable names also we can call it as an identifier in Java. Okay, so while declaring or defining the identifiers, right, so we need to follow the certain rules as per the Java standards. First one is, whenever we are declaring or defining an identifier, inside the identifier allowed characters are small a to small z and capital A to capital Z, 0 to 9, underscore, and dollar. If you use any other character other than this character, you will get the compile time error. Let's check it. So I am declaring the integer type variable. I am giving the name. Let's say total. There are no compilation errors because I don't have any other character other than these allowed characters. Suppose let's say I add it star. See, immediately it is showing the compile time error. Okay, so while declaring the identifier is nothing but a name in the class. So while declaring it, right, these characters only allowed. Other than these character, if you use any other character, you will get the compile time error. That is what the first rule. And the second rule also same. These are allowed characters. What are not allowed? Any other characters other than these. Let's say I am declaring another variable, total one. Okay, there is no compile time error because total all are alphabetic characters and one is the numeric character, so no issues at all. Suppose I use any other character other than this, so I will get the compile time error. Let's say I will use the hash. See, compile time error. That is the second rule. Third rule, we can use numbers in the identifier names, but identifier name should not start with the digit. That means, let's say I have declared another variable total 2. There is a no issue. Even we have the alphanumeric characters and sorry, we have the alphabetic characters and the numeric characters. But here number 2 is coming somewhere in the identifier, but not at the first character, right? Not as the first character. Let's see. For example, suppose I do this, it will not allow. Okay, identifiers, that means names, should not start with a digit. Reserved words. Uh, Reserved words are nothing but in Java language, few words are reserved in the sense those words have the specific meaning and those words to be used at specific purpose. Okay, for example, uh, let's say for loop. For loop, what we can do, we need to use the for keyword. Keyword is nothing but reserved word. So this for keyword, you do not use it for identifier because this for is reserved word and it's having the specific meaning and specific purpose to use it certain conditions, certain places. So whatever reserved words in Java we have it, right? For example, if, else, case, switch, for, while, do, we have many, right? So those reserved words will not be allowed to use as an identifier. Okay, this is another condition. Suppose I use it like for one, it's not a problem because this is not a keyword. Combined together is not a keyword, right? For is a keyword. For alone is a, alone itself is a keyword, but I combined one with it, so it gives different meaning. It should not the reserved word, so this will be allowed. Okay, in case if you don't have one and keeping the only for inside it, right, as an identifier, then it will not be allowed because for is reserved for some other meaning, some other purpose in Java language. That is the thing. Okay, another thing is Java identifiers are case sensitive. Case sensitive is nothing but, suppose let's say I am declaring the variable sum of integer type, and I am declaring another variable like sum. Here S is capital letter, remaining all are small letters. So here identifier contains all the small characters, and here S first character is capital, remaining all are small characters. Even though you can say this is sum, this is sum, but when you consider in character wise, right, these are case sensitive. So this is the different identifier, and this is a different identifier. Java will treat it as this one as a different identifier, different variable of type int, and this is another different variable of type integer. So Java identifiers are case sensitive. We need to make note of it. And another thing is, in Java we have many predefined classes and predefined interfaces. Predefined classes and predefined interfaces have their own meaning and purpose. So those predefined classes names and interface names, we can use it as an identifier. But uh, while look at the code, readability is not up to the mark. Okay, it will be confusing. For example, we have callable interface. This is predefined interface. So what I will do, let's say I will use it as a uh, predefined interface. Okay, callable is a predefined interface. Suppose let's say I'm using it as an a identifier. See, no compile time error because callable is a predefined interface. Okay, but when we writing the program, it will create proper confusion, right? Because we are declaring the variable with the existing interface name, and suppose you want to use callable interface in your code at the same places in the same application, then it will create the confusion, right? So even it allowed to use the predefined class and interface names as an interface as an identifiers, it's allowed, but you should not use, you are not supposed to use because it will create the confusion. And another one is no length limit. No length limit for identifiers. Let's say while, let's consider this identifier, right, in sum. How many are there in this sum? 3 characters are there. So the length of this identifier is nothing but number of characters in that identifier, right? So here it is 3. So this is what does it what does the meaning of what is the meaning of seventh point, right? So it's, you should keep as much as possible characters inside the identifier. There is no length limit, but to make it program sensible and readable, you always try to keep the identifiers length as small as possible. Okay, even though it is allowed and applicable, I mean, there is no restriction at that point. I mean, no restrictions at the limit wise, lengthwise. But even though you are don't use as much as possible characters in creating or declaring identifiers, because it will create a lot of confusions. Suppose I am creating a identifier with 100 characters, with 100 letters, right? Suppose I want to reuse that variable somewhere, then I need to use that 100 letters, so it doesn't looks good. readability will be decreased when we consider that point of view. So basically, identifier in Java is nothing but a class name or a method name or a variable name or a label name. So allowed characters we have discussed. These are the allowed characters. And other than this, any characters you use in identifier, right, you will get the compile time error. Numbers will be allowed inside the identifiers, right, while declaring it. But identifier should not allowed to start with digit. This is valid. We have number. That's fine. Suppose you keep this 2 at the front, right, as a first character, then it will not allow. That is a condition over there. And we have reserved words and keywords in Java. We have 62 or 64. So those reserved words we do not use it as an identifier. Okay. And identifiers are case sensitive. This sum is different variable. This sum is different variable. Predefined class names and interface names we can use as identifier. But this is not a good practice. It will create confusion for any programmer. And there is no length limit for the identifier. But we always should make the length of the variable, I mean identifier, as small as possible and relevant to the situations. Okay, and we need to give the relevant name to the identifiers in the Java application. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Have a great day.